Hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar. We're going to be talking a lot about settings. Super fun. Um, we're gonna kind of talk about all of the gallery settings, but we're gonna focus on the important ones. So I'm just warning you now, it is a lot of information. So bear with me, ask questions. Remember that you get a recording. There's a handout. Don't worry, we're gonna get through it all. So I will give everyone just a few more minutes to file in. Karen is there in the chat to answer all your questions. If you want to tell me in the chat what you know about our gallery settings, where you're from, what photography type you shoot, what's your favorite part of fall, I don't know, whatever everybody wants to talk about. I'll be looking for all of those answers. Sometimes I feel like I wish I could play like elevator music while I wait for us to get started, because it is kind of weird to stand here quietly. But let me know. I also can't see if you guys are typing, so I just have to believe. But I know you're there. I see you. All right, no takers. A preschool photographer. Okay, well, we're going to talk about some workflows with more volume work today, so that will be good. You're a weird person that doesn't like fall. That is weird. I do like another preschool photographer. Okay, I like fall, but I also like summer. But by fall, I'm ready for summer to be done. Birdsong photography. That's a pretty name. Also, if you guys want to drop socials so that you guys can all follow each other, that's great. Commercial photographer. Portraits and events. Families and seniors. All right, so we have a lot of different genres here today. You love fall, and you're a wedding photographer. I bet then you get to photograph some really pretty fall weddings. I had a spring wedding, but I do like a fall wedding. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Oh, okay. This is wrong. I refreshed my slides, but I didn't refresh this doc. So give me 2 seconds, because I do want to make sure I am in the right doc. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. Okay, so we do have some upcoming webinars, and I wanted you guys to be able to see them. So next week, we are going to be doing the upsell advantage, maximizing profits from every session. And then the week after that, we're going to be talking about doubling your gallery sales with shoot-proof email campaigns. Karen can drop the links for those in the chat, and you can go ahead and sign up. And also remember that even if you can't attend, we do send you those recaps afterwards. You're going to get the whole recording and the handouts and everything. So make sure to sign up. Our usual housekeeping spiel: please close any extra browser tabs, pause any streaming services, anything eating into your bandwidth. Feel free to chat with both us and each other in the chat section. But if you do have specific questions, please try to ask them in the Q&A tab. That way we can give direct responses back to those. I can see those and answer those on the screen. It's just a little easier for us. And if you ask a question in the chat and you see it disappear, we did just move it to the Q&A tab for you to get your answer in there. All right, everybody's sharing their socials. That's good. Okay, our agenda today. So we are going to start with talking about gallery structure. Just kind of a reminder for those of you who maybe are more experienced, and for those of you starting out, just letting you know how it is that you can structure your galleries. Then we're going to talk about the status and the accessibility of the galleries. And then we're going to talk about all of the settings and the presets. We're going to look a little at tracking gallery activity, and then kind of our usual Q&A. This one is pretty demo heavy, so we'll be bouncing in and out of a demo account a lot. So I do want to go ahead and let's get started. So some of you might know about your gallery structure already, but we're going to start with the basics so that we can all be on the same page about this. So some of you may only use galleries. The gallery is the top level, right? It's the whole folder. So if you're doing, that's where your photos are housed, right? That's where everything's going to be loaded into. Some of you may just use galleries, especially if you're only shooting things where, maybe you're putting up kind of a small amount of photos. So like between 100, 200, that. But if you do larger volume stuff, so say weddings, we said there's lots of school photographers in here, sports, dance, that kind of stuff, where maybe you're going to be getting, in the upper hundreds into the thousands, you might want to use albums. So albums are like subfolders within your gallery. So that's the main folder. And with albums, you can attach album level passwords. You can also do album level digital rules so that they could just download from a certain album. Then within albums, you can also have sub albums. So like sub folders. Those can also have their own password, and they can also have their own digital rules. You can go 4 levels deep. So you can have galleries, albums, sub albums, and then sub albums. But again, this really just depends on your workflow, how many photos that you're uploading, and how you need to organize things. It is important to remember that even though these albums do have some kind of settings that you can set on the individual level, your gallery settings in general are going to apply to the entire gallery, which would then include those albums, sub-albums, sub-albums, etc. Then, in addition to albums, you can have a certain type of album called a vendor album. So vendor albums are only accessible by a direct link. The example that we always use with this is like if you maybe shoot weddings and you had an agreement with the florist that they would get all of the photos of the florals. You don't really want the florist to be able to access the whole gallery. And then you also don't want the bride and groom and the family and the attendees to just see a random, album that's just full of florals. So you don't have to upload like an entirely separate gallery for the florist. What you can do is that you could put all of those floral pictures, floral arrangements, whatever we want to call them, into a vendor album. And you would send that direct link to the florist. So with that link, the florist can see all of the arrangements, all of those photos, right? But they can't access the rest of the gallery. And then also on the regular gallery side, so the bride, the groom, the guests, everybody else, they don't just see an album that says florals. So they're kind of a specific workflow, but we do always like to let people know that they do exist and that you can set them up. They are just like albums in that you can also password protect them, and you can also give their own digital permissions in there. So say for the whole, for the other albums, you have just regular downloads, and then maybe for the vendor album, you have social downloads with, watermarked images. You can set it up that way. Right. Check the chat really quick. Then the other thing that we always want to make sure that people know about is the linked contact. So if you have a gallery that you want to just have kind of one specific person that needs special permissions. So say, again, we use the wedding example. Maybe you just want the bride to be able to download, but also maybe you're doing family photos and you just want the person who booked the family shoot to be able to download. You could set them as the linked contact. You would set their email address as the linked contact. And then you can give them certain permissions that are attached to that email address. So they could have their own download permissions. They can have the opportunity to notify you once they're done favoriting. You can allow them to hide photos so that other visitors to the gallery actually won't see those photos, and also label photos. So maybe, with the family, you are going to create an album for them, and you want the person who booked the shoot to be able to choose X number of photos to be in that photo album. You could give them a label for albums that just they would be able to do. They also have access during pre-release. We're going to talk about that a little later with our statuses. So with every gallery, you will need to set a gallery status. Really, the most basic way to look at this is just, is the gallery live right now? So active galleries, the client can access the gallery at the link. They'll see the photos, they'll be able to get in, etc. Inactive galleries, the client will not be able to enter that gallery. They'll just get a message saying that the gallery is not active right now. So inactive galleries, those photos do still count towards your photo plan. But say you're still working on the gallery, so you have it as inactive, or some people might give a set expiration date on the gallery. So you can set your galleries to expire and then become reactive. And then you can decide whether, you want to reactivate those later or, delete them, whatever you want. So these are the main statuses. In addition to that, though, we also have pre-release. Pre-release is a type of gallery that you can limit access to. So when regular visitors go and visit this gallery, they're asked to enter their email address, and they are told that the gallery is not active yet, but they can be notified once the gallery becomes active. During pre-release, while it's in pre-release, you can give the linked contact to the gallery a way to access the gallery. So again, our wedding example, maybe you're still working on it, but you want to give the bride access to it. During that time, you could allow her to hide or label photos or just access the gallery in general. And then all of the other wedding guests, when they go to that gallery link, will just be asked to enter their email. Once you're ready with the gallery and you want to make it active, you then have the option to go ahead and make it active and email all those people that the gallery is ready and that they can look at it. Then the next thing you can do is you can archive a gallery. So archived galleries are no longer able to be viewed by the client, but they will still show in a certain section of your account, right? You can still see them in the all galleries under archived. Archived galleries do not count towards your photo count. It is an additional cost outside of your regular shoot-proof cost. It's $2.99 for up to 25 gigs, and then an additional 5 cents for every gig. So this is a great way to store and back up galleries if you want. It also allows you to keep all of your visitor information for that gallery. So you'll still see all of the gallery visitors, any of, their favorites, all of that. And then you can unarchive that gallery if you have room in your account, right? If you're not over your photo plan. And then, reactivate it. So we do have lots of people who archive and then maybe unarchive at the holidays so that they can run sales and send email campaigns and all of that. And then we have our pro tip of that you can search and filter through all of your galleries on the All Galleries page, which we'll look at when we get to our demo. All right. How's everything going so far? We're good. We're talking about a lot of this up front, and then I'm going to go into an account and show you the actual implication, the practices of it. So don't worry, we're going to go over everything again. So in addition to your gallery status, you also have your gallery access. This is kind of where your gallery is going to show. So public galleries will appear on your Shoot-Proof portfolio website. That does not mean that they are automatically accessible by everybody. You can still have passwords on those galleries so that people can enter them. Private galleries are available only via a direct link. They will not show on your Shoot-Proof portfolio website. So if you're doing stuff like boudoir, maybe stuff, school photos, all of that you don't want everybody to immediately see on your Shoot-Proof portfolio website, you want to make sure things are private. And you don't have to have any of your galleries on there. You can always have all of your galleries as private. But in addition to the private and public, remember that you can also have passwords on top of all of this. And then we started to touch on this. It's very important to keep your clients' images safe. So we have a lot of recommendations about how you can do that. We recommend that galleries, especially anything with anything sensitive in it, we want to make those private and only accessible by that direct URL. So again, any genres that you just don't want everybody to see on your portfolio website, make sure those are private. Make sure your galleries are password protected with a strong password. And I can't stress strong password enough. We don't want anything related to the gallery itself, right? We don't want the genre to be the password. We don't want wedding. We don't want boudoir. We don't want their name. We don't want anything related to what the gallery is called. And I know it can seem a little, frustrating to give your clients their gallery and then ask them to put a password on it. But remember that, they're going to appreciate that you are taking the security of their images seriously. So strong passwords. We recommend that you require visitors to enter an email when they first enter the gallery. So this is a setting. This is just so you can monitor, who is visiting the gallery, what they're doing. So if you start to see email addresses that maybe you don't recognize, then you can switch the password on it, all of that. Also, I think this is a nice setting because we do ask them to enter their email address anyways later on. So if they favorite, if they put items in the cart, if they try and download, we're going to prompt them to enter their email address anyway. So if you ask it up front, then when they log into the gallery, if they've been there previously, they will see, their favorites, items in the cart, all of that. So I think it just makes for a more seamless experience with visiting your gallery. And then we want to make sure that, again, those sensitive galleries, that we do set up a linked contact, and we set up those unique download permissions just for that linked contact, and then we share it directly with them. So in the settings, you can set up digital rules. We're not going to go super in depth on the digital rules because we do have an entire webinar on digital rules. Karen can maybe share that in the chat. But within your galleries, you do have options. First off, your default for the galleries, unless you've set it up in your preset, is that your galleries do not have digital download rules set up. But if you do want to set them up, you do have several options. You can set them up so that everybody who visits has the ability to download. You can set it up for specific albums if you are using a workflow that has albums in it. You can set it for that link contact that we've talked about. And with the vendor albums, you can set digital permissions on that specific vendor album. Thank you, Karen. So here is the first tab of our gallery settings. I think some of you have seen that we did recently redo kind of the order of the gallery settings. We didn't change any of the settings themselves, except for that we did give you the option to individually set a theme for a gallery, which we'll talk about on the next slide. This is just an overview of what's going to be in each one of these tabs. We're not going to go over all of these, even though it is tempting. But we're going to kind of hit the high points of what you should be paying attention to in all of these tabs. And then now we have this branding settings tab. So some of the stuff that was previously kind of just lumped in the general gallery settings, we broke out so that you can set these specific visuals for your gallery. As I said, one of the exciting things is we did make it so that you can set like a specific theme for that gallery in the moment. So if you apply your theme and you decide, I don't really like this color with this gallery, right there, you can change it. And we are using the photos in that gallery as the preview, so you can see exactly what it is you're setting up. And then once we go through our gallery settings and we get everything exactly how we want, you do have the opportunity to save things as a preset. So when you create a gallery, you are going to apply a preset, which is just a preset of all the settings that you have already created. You always have the opportunity to change those settings after you apply a preset, but when you create a gallery, you do have to apply a preset. So if you go over your settings and you set everything up and you're like, you know what, I really like all of these and I want all of my family galleries going forward to have these exact settings, you can save it as a preset, name it, Family 2025, and then you can apply that to your galleries going forward. The only things that can't be set in the presets are digital downloads that are specific to albums, since every gallery might not have albums within it. But you can even have digitals for the gallery itself set up in your presets. And then last, we're about to start our demo. So we are going to look at how you can track your gallery activity. So you can see clients' favorites, if they labeled or they hid things, any items in their cart, all of that. And then you can look at your email history. So now that we talked about all of the settings up front, we are going to get into my demo account and take a look at some of them. All right, here we go. So we're going to go into this one. The first thing we'll look at is setting up a linked contact. So if you wanted to add a contact to this gallery, you can come over here to add contact. It's going to pull up the contacts that you already have in your clients section of your account. So you can choose from here, or you can create a new contact in that moment. That'll just have you only have to do their first, last name, email. You can add additional information if you have that about them. We're going to choose somebody who already exists though. We have a lot in here. I always go with Julie Andrews. So once you select your contact, you have the option then to turn on some of these settings that we've talked about for the linked contact. So if you want them to be able to send their favorites to you once they have selected them, you can toggle that on here and they'll see that in their gallery that when they hit their favorites, they can share those with you. If you give them an access code, it has to be 6 digits. You can then give them these additional privileges we talked about. So if you want them to be able to hide photos, you can toggle that on. And then if you want them to be able to label, you can toggle that on, and then you can give them a label. So in the example we talked about earlier, if you want them to be able to add things to an album, you can add that here. And then you can set an optional limit. So if you had said that you're going to make them a photo album with 25 photos, you can set that limit there. You do not have to. We will go ahead and give Julie Andrews, 26. That's a weird number, but we're going to stick with it. Their own label for albums. And then you can click save and you'll see over here that we now have our linked contact. Now we're going to head into our settings. So in our general tab, we just have some kind of general settings about dates. So your shoot date is always going to default to the day that you uploaded the photos or created the gallery rather, but you can change this here. We talked about an expiration date. If you want the gallery to expire on a certain date, you can set that here and it will automatically become inactive, I believe at like 11:59 on that day. Some language, social sharing, black and white, if you want to show file names. But this is our most important one. So access and privacy. We always want to make sure that we look at this. So right now this gallery is active, so it's live and viewable. We can set it as inactive or pre-released here. We do have this one as private, which means that I would need to share it with my client. I would need to copy that link or email them or hit share gallery. It will not show on my portfolio website. If I change it to public here, we get this little warning letting you know that it is going to show on your portfolio website then. Regardless of what access and what status it is, I do still have the opportunity to add a password. I am going to add a password here. It's not going to be a good one because you guys are watching me. So this one's got shoot proof as the password. And then here we can require the visitors to enter their email address to view the gallery. This just means that when they get the gallery link, it'll open their gallery intro page, and then it's going to prompt them to enter that email address. Our free digitals are here. Again, by default, especially when you're getting started out, if you haven't changed any of your presets, you will not have any free digitals here. You can create free digital rules. It's pretty straightforward. You can choose who will see this rule, and then you can choose, what size it is, how many can be downloaded, etc. The shopping cart, right now for this gallery, the shopping cart is not enabled. So you need to make sure that you have some price sheets created before you turn on the shopping cart. If you want your clients to be able to purchase through the gallery and be charged at the time, right? You want to charge their credit cards for their orders. You will want to set up a payment gateway. I have one set up in this account, but if you don't, you will be able to click here and it'll take you to your payment gateway options that you can then select. Now, if I enable the shopping cart, I will get all of these shopping cart settings. So you can set up your price sheet, set a minimum order, The store allows you to have a little tab that says store where your clients can shop by product first instead of shopping by image first. We do have this abandoned cart email, which we do recommend. This is automatically going to send a reminder email to clients who abandon their shopping carts. I believe it's about like 48 hours after they have abandoned their cart, they haven't visited it again. It really helps get people over the finish line with placing those orders. And then down here, this is always very important. These are the delivery options for your shopping cart. So if you have allow pickup only, that means that the idea would be that your client is picking it up at your studio. So they will not be charged any shipping fees. You would be charged the shipping fees. If you have allow ship to client only, that means they would be prompted to enter their shipping address. They're going to pay for the shipping. The lab is going to ship it directly to them. White label, just so you know. And then you can also have the option to choose pickup or shipping. Some of you mentioned that you do school photos. Sometimes we hear our school photos do the allow pickup option, because then what they do is that they go ahead and combine all of those orders. They have them sent to their studio. They organize them out and either deliver them to the school or have the parents come and pick them up. So you do have some options, but you want to pay attention because you want to make sure that if you're having it shipped to your clients, that they're paying the shipping for it. And then this optional message shown at checkout will show as they're checking out. It also shows on their email confirmation for their order. So if there's information that you need them to know about their orders, you can always enter that here. And then last, we have this advanced section. A lot of this advanced section is settings that have to do with if you use albums. So if you do have a workflow that utilizes albums and sub-albums, you'd want to pay attention to these settings in here. You can also add, if you utilize your Shootproof Portfolio website and you have galleries that are showing on there, you can add them to categories on your portfolio website. So maybe you have your portfolio website set up to highlight the different genres that you do. So you could add engagement, family, portrait, all of that, and you could organize the galleries into there. Also, our upcoming webinar is going to be on email campaigns, and this is how you would add your email campaigns. So this is somewhat new. We released this a few weeks ago, that we do have this separate section for kind of all of the visuals of your gallery. And you'll see that it actually pulls the photos that are in this gallery. So this is this gallery's cover image, and I can in real time preview all of the intro pages. We did also just launch new intro pages. So you have a lot of options, and it'll pull that cover image and your logo and all of that. With the typography and colors, you can choose a theme that you already have, or you can make edits to your theme right here. So again, you see that preview. It's showing the actual pictures that we have in the gallery, and I can even scroll through. So I'm going to leave the colors as they are, but I can choose a new font. And I'm sorry, my window itself is kind of small. That's because I left my window too small when I was setting up for our webinar. We also have layout options here. So you can choose to have a header image, which is going to be the image that shows at the top of the gallery. It's the same as your cover image. So if you want a header image, you can have it. If not, you can toggle it off. With the image sizing, again, you'll get previews, and we can also switch our spacing. Intro messages, we can see that I just have one that very loudly says test right now. If you have information that you want to give your clients about their gallery or about what they want, you want them to do, please favorite images that you would like. If you do maybe like free downloads, maybe you're running a sale, free shipping, all of that, you can add that as a gallery intro message. You can also add a video intro message if you maybe make videos about their galleries for them. You can add a Vimeo or a YouTube link. With that, you just want to make sure that you are the Vimeo or the YouTube link is public so that it can show there. And then the last is our marketing banner. So kind of similar to your intro message, except for it will show across the top here. So again, if you're running a sale or there's something you want them to know that you need their orders by a certain date, you can add that text there. You can also add optional links and set it to expire on a certain date. So if we liked these settings, we would come up here. Well, if you like them and want to use them going forward, go up here and click Save as a Preset. And then you would give it a name and click Create Preset. And then we did mention our gallery activity. So that is down here under this visitor activity. So you can see that the last time someone went to this one was a couple of months ago. But once you click on that, you can see any orders, client favorites, also just the visitor report in general. So with this, we would see if they had any favorites, you click it and see those. If you had any free digitals they downloaded, cart items, orders, etc. And then last for our tracking, we did talk about that you want to make sure to monitor emails. So if you go over here to Studio and we go down to email, you can see all of the latest activity on your emails regarding your galleries. So you can see if they've clicked a link, if they've opened, if any of them bounced or anything. So you can see if maybe they spelled their email address wrong and you need to resend them. You would be able to see that here with the activity. All right, I do see some chat going on, so that we'll pause our demo for a second. I see Karen added one. A light box layout to allow for traditional proofing experience for corporate clients. Well, I'm not entirely sure that I understand what you're referring to. If you want to elaborate a little, it does sound interesting though. What if you have an event and you want one album for the client who hired you and another for the rest of the party as public? How would you do that? So do you only want the person who hired you to see, you could have, sorry, let me get back into my other window. So you could just have, I don't think I have any with albums right now, so we can add them really quickly. You could just have 2 albums. So you could have one album for the person who hired you. And you could password protect that. And then you could have, again, I don't practice what I preach. I do in actuality, but not while we're demoing. So you could have the main album and that would have the password. And then you could have a secondary album that either wasn't password protected, or if you only wanted those people to be able to see it, that would be up to you. Anytime if you have multiple albums and you don't want everybody to see all of the photos, you need to go to the advanced and click hide the all photos album, because we do that by default. So if you really want everybody to see everything organized into those albums you set up, you want to remember to do this hide the all photos. Christian, you will get an email notification when someone purchases from your gallery, depending on whether you're utilizing one of our partner labs or you're self-fulfilling. If you're utilizing a lab, you're going to get an email that's going to prompt you to approve that order. If you're doing self-fulfilled, you're still going to get a notification that they placed an order. The gallery view is similar to the admin view with images side by side, no matter the orientation. No, that makes way more sense. Thank you, Will. I don't know of any plans to do that. That is interesting, and I can definitely see with a workflow for portraits and stuff that would be super helpful. I'll pass that along. How would it work if the public wants to download the photos in a public and the private album for the client who hired me? You would just need to set download permissions for those particular albums that we set up. So in the free digitals, when you create a free digital rule, you can do visitors to a specific album. If you only want people to be able to download certain things from certain albums, you definitely need to make sure to do it on the album level and not at the gallery level. If you add download permissions on the gallery level, those will apply to all of your albums within that gallery. So if you only want specific ones for specific albums, you need to do the second one, which is visitors to all albums. Karen had the webinar in there. We can also, let me find the Help Center about digitals. So here is, and here's the article on it. Can't spell article. Yes, we can go over password generating. So when you do have albums, you can do a password generator for the albums. So over here under manage albums on this side, you can do actions and you can do generate passwords. Then you can select which albums you want to generate the passwords. You can click generate passwords. And then it will just automatically assign passwords to those. You can see them in the album settings. And then you can download a CSV of those passwords that were assigned to those albums. You will need to share those passwords, though, with your client. All right. Any other gallery settings questions? I will go back to our slide deck. So I just want to point out that this is our resource library. We do have this in the handout section, as well as kind of a handout with links embedded into it about this presentation in general, kind of a little summary of it. So make sure to download both of those. In our resource center, we have a link to our help center, which is where our articles, videos, previous webinars are, our blog, which is about all things photography. We also have our community group on Facebook where you can find resources, ask people about their workflows, all of that. Our wonderful support team, which is available from Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. We also offer concierge onboarding for those of you getting started out. It's a free one-on-one session with one of our shoot-proof experts. And then obviously we have free webinars on Thursdays. Once I've archived, can I set up a message to reach out and I'll reactivate the gallery? There isn't a message. There isn't a way to change the message that's on the archiving. Let me see what it is specifically it says, but there isn't a way to edit that. So I did mean to point this out. So this was good chance for me to do it. Here is these search and filter boxes so you can see which galleries are unarchived, who's active, inactive, any in pre-release, and any of your archived galleries. And then you can also use this search to search by name. You can search by the gallery access. I really recommend using this when we're thinking about our security settings, right? Maybe if you feel like you haven't looked over your security settings in a little while, you can go to this gallery access and see if you have any public ones with no password. So you can change that. You can also look at the category and the shoot date here. I'm going to preview this archived one for you really quickly. So when they're archived, it does take you automatically to your portfolio website, which does, well, it has as much information as you want to add here. So you could have your contact information written here in this about section. There is also this contact tab that you can have turned on, which will automatically send an email to your contact email on your account. So if you have the email that you set in the contact info, not the one that you set in the users and permissions. But you would need to add that information for your archived galleries here on your portfolio website, which your portfolio website settings are over here under Studio in Portfolio Website. So the text that shows at the top of the page there is your intro text if you have that. All right. Any other questions before we wrap up? Don't forget to download your handouts. And don't forget to sign up for the webinars for the next 2 weeks. All right. Well, thank you guys all for coming today. I hope to see you at, oh, one more question. Maybe? All right. I'm going to give you a few seconds to get your question in the Q&A. But if not, again, thank you everybody for coming, and I hope to see you at a future webinar. If you have a question, you can send it to, yes, you can set up different presets for your different genres. You can either do it as you create a setting, like I showed earlier, or you can do it by going over here to our galleries page and clicking into your gallery presets. So you can create a new preset here. Yep. You can set up multiple presets. Whoop. And you can always make changes to these. All right. Everybody have a great afternoon. Thanks again for coming.